any archaeologists dispute the Younger Dryas?
There's about 60 major scientists. They've all published dozens of papers on the hypothesis. There's also a group of academics who are opposed to it. Homo sapiens line descends from a line that goes back about 6 million years, not much further than that, if we accept conventional evolutionary theory. So 6 million years ago, Antarctica is supposed to have been as cold and as frozen as it is today. And there's undoubtedly a time, they found fossils on Antarctica, there's undoubtedly a time when Antarctica was lush and green. The question is, was it lush and green during the lifetime of the human species?
Yes.
For 40,000 years, the darkness held its secret. Deep beneath the limestone hills of Germany's Swabian Jura, in caves named after forgotten rivers and vanished bears, early humans left behind something that should not exist. Not crude scratches, not simple tallies, but sequences of dots, lines, crosses, and notches carved with deliberate precision into ivory mammoths, hybrid lion men, and polished bone tools. Historians have long taught us that true civilization, the ability to record information, to encode meaning beyond speech, to build systems that outlast a single lifetime, began only 5,300 years ago on the dusty plains of Mesopotamia. The first cuneiform tablets, the birth of writing, the dawn of history. Then, in February 2026, two researchers opened a statistical window into the Ice Age, and the room went silent. What they found does not merely push the timeline back, it shatters the very definition of when humanity first became civilized. These 40,000-year-old marks carry the same statistical fingerprint, the same information density, the same deliberate repetition, the same structured complexity, as the earliest proto-cuneiform script that would not appear for another 35,000 years. A single ivory plaque known as the adherent, barely the size of a human palm, bears bundled dots and lines that modern algorithms now treat as indistinguishable from the accounting tablets of ancient Uruk. How is this possible? How did hunter-gatherers living at the edge of the last ice age already possess the cognitive architecture we once believed required cities, kings, and priests? And if they could encode knowledge this way, what else were they recording that we have not yet learned to read? The findings are not just shocking, they are rewriting the opening chapter of the human story. The Aurignacian period, dated reliably between 43,000 and 34,000 years ago through multiple radiocarbon and stratigraphic methods, marks the arrival of anatomically modern humans in Central Europe. These were the first Homo sapiens populations to establish a distinct material culture on the continent, replacing or absorbing earlier Neanderthal groups. Confirmed facts are extensive and undisputed. Excavations at 4 key Swabian Jura sites, Vogelherde, Geisenklosterle, Hohlfels, and Hohenstein-Stadel, have yielded hundreds of portable ivory and bone objects. Among them are the world-famous Lion Man figurine, dozens of animal carvings, woolly mammoths, horses, bison, cave lions, and personal ornaments. These artifacts are housed today in the Landesmuseum Württemberg and the Museum für Vor- und Frühgeschichte in Berlin. Their age is anchored by dozens of calibrated radiocarbon dates and stratigraphic layers sealed under thick travertine flows. The geometric signs themselves have been known to archaeologists since the 1970s and 1980s. More than 3,000 individual marks appear on over 260 objects. They consist of simple repeated elements, parallel lines, single or grouped dots, crosses, and notches. Some run along edges of tools, others cover the reverse sides of figurines. Scholarly debates have focused on function. Traditional interpretations viewed the marks as decorative, ritual, or simple mnemonic aids, perhaps tallies of hunted animals or lunar phases. No one claimed they formed a system comparable to later writing. Speculative theories, kept separate from the archaeological record, have occasionally suggested that the Aurignacian people possessed forms of lost knowledge, or that the signs encode astronomical or mythological information. These remain unproven hypotheses and are not endorsed by the primary excavators or dating specialists. The anomaly is stark and uncomfortable. If these marks are merely decorative, why do they appear in statistically stable sequences across 10,000 years in 4 different caves? Why do ivory figurines consistently carry higher information density than everyday tools? Why do the same sign combinations recur in patterns that algorithms later flag as non-random? Yet the gap is enormous. Between the end of the Aurignacian around 34,000 years ago and the first proto-cuneiform tablets in Uruk around 3300 BCE lies a 30,000-year silence. During that silence, humans invented agriculture, built permanent settlements, and only then, supposedly, discovered writing. Yet the Swabian signs already exhibit the core statistical properties we associate with information storage: low unigram entropy, predictable repetition of symbols, high repetition rates, and measurable complexity that matches the earliest known scripts. Something does not add up. Either our timeline for the birth of symbolic complexity is wrong, or we have fundamentally underestimated what hunter-gatherers were capable of encoding in bone and ivory. And the breakthrough arrived in February 2026 with the publication in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the paper, "Humans 40,000 years ago developed a system of conventional signs." Linguist Professor Christian Benz of Saarland University and archaeologist Dr. Iwa Dutkiewicz of the Berlin State Museums applied modern computational tools to the entire sign-based corpus of Aurignacian marks. They used classification algorithms, multi-layer perceptrons, and k-nearest neighbors, combined with entropy calculations and regression models. These are standard machine learning techniques for pattern recognition, not science fiction AI decipherment. The software cannot read meaning, it only quantifies statistical behavior. What the numbers revealed was startling. And the Aurignacian sign sequences are statistically closer to the earliest Uruk V proto-cuneiform than to random decoration or modern alphabetic writing. Information density is measurably higher on ritual or figurative objects. The system remains stable across millennia without evolving into full writing, a fact that itself challenges linear progress models of cultural development. Dr. Benz later described the moment the first comparison graphs appeared on screen. The match was so unexpected, he immediately sent the screenshot to his colleague. This is not speculation. This is reproducible statistical evidence from peer-reviewed analysis of real artifacts. The scientific community responded with the caution that serious archaeology demands. Some researchers praised the methodological rigor, and others warned against over-interpreting statistical similarity as proof of writing. Funding bodies and peer reviewers have been hesitant to fund follow-up decipherment projects precisely because the meaning of the signs remains inaccessible. No institution has claimed suppression. Yet the implications are quietly explosive. Textbooks that still open the chapter on writing with Sumerian tablets now face an awkward 35,000-year footnote. University curricula built around the Neolithic Revolution as the cradle of complexity must confront evidence that abstract information systems existed when Europe was still covered in glaciers and megafauna. Expert disagreement is public and respectful. Dr. Dutkiewicz has emphasized that the marks do not constitute writing in the strict sense, but clearly served intercommunication. Professor Benz has stressed that the statistical fingerprint is real and demands explanation. The debate is not about conspiracy. It is about whether we are willing to rewrite the first page of human intellectual history. Three coherent explanations now compete. Conventional explanation. The marks are artistic or ritual. They served aesthetic or symbolic purposes within a rich spiritual worldview, but carried no linguistic or numerical information beyond immediate context, the Ice Age equivalent of doodles or prayer beads. Alternative theory. These are an early non-linguistic information system, proto-writing in the broadest sense. The signs may have recorded lunar calendars, hunting tallies, clan lineages, or mythological sequences. The higher density on figurines suggests they functioned as portable texts carried by individuals, much like later Mesopotamian tokens. Skeptical position. The statistical match is intriguing, but overstated. Entropy and repetition can arise from decorative repetition or motor habits of carving. Without a Rosetta Stone or living cultural descendants, any claim of information storage remains unprovable. The Aurignacian people were sophisticated, but calling their marks a system of conventional signs, comparable to writing risks projecting modern concepts backward. The evidence allows all three readings. The audience must weigh them. This discovery forces a deeper reckoning. If 40,000 years ago, people living in skin tents beside glaciers already possessed the mental architecture to create structured, transmissible sign systems, then the spark of civilization, abstract thought, shared memory, a cumulative culture, ignited far earlier than we imagined. It was not waiting for farms or cities. It traveled with the first modern humans who walked out of Africa. It changes how we see ourselves. Every child who draws lines in the sand is echoing a 40,000-year-old instinct. Every time we jot a note, we continue a tradition older than the pyramids, older than agriculture, older than the ice sheets that once covered Europe. The philosophical question lingers. What else did they know? What stories, what warnings, what star maps, what genealogies did those tiny notches once preserve? And how many other silent archives still wait beneath the earth? One unresolved question remains. If the first Europeans 40,000 years ago could already encode knowledge in a system as complex as the tablets that would later birth cities and empires, what forgotten messages are still waiting to be read in the ivory and bone that survived the Ice Age? The caves are quiet now. The mammoths are gone. But the marks remain. They have waited 40,000 years. Perhaps it is finally time we learned how to listen. What do you think those signs were trying to say? Drop your theories in the comments, and subscribe for the next chapter of this unfolding story.